Wow, welcome to this monster drink is crazy. Yo, Callie, explain to them how it was when I walked in here before I had this monster.
Doc, you was real dry until you had this Monster Energy drink right here. I'm telling you, like, this is a picker-upper.
I said I drank this monster drink. Y'all got to get with the program, champ.
Welcome back, y'all, to the Beat 139. I'm Doc.
How y'all doing this evening? I'm Don Vito. What's up?
What's up, Lady Ray here?
Okay, we would like to welcome our third guest for this evening. Her name is Michelle Carvalho.
You got it.
Carvalho. That's right. Serial entrepreneur, actress, author, and big picture thinker with valuable wisdom in making money.
Yes.
And carrying dreams from ideas to vision to reality. Michelle, can you tell everybody where you're from and a little bit about your background?
Well, I'm Harlem American.
Okay, Harlem
Shout
again.
out to Doc.
Harlem in the building. That's
I'm
right.
from Harlem,
Okay.
born and raised.
Okay.
I left a few times, but yep, I'm from here.
Okay.
Okay. Yep.
All right, so just tell people about your background a little bit, where you started at
All right. So
as an entrepreneur.
okay, so I think
Oh,
I want to start in the front.
Let's do that.
So I can let you know what I'm representing now, because
Absolutely.
when we go behind, it's so much tragedy that it might be kind of surprising. So right now, adreamlife.com is my main project. Life is an acronym for love yourself and focus on empowerment. How I got to this place and these books right now, I'm in the process of writing 2 more books. It's a 4-book series. I already have book 1, No More Broke Assness, which is doing well on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and my funnel on my own website. And 16 Laws for Gangster Confidence. So I'm becoming a master at online marketing. However, the way these things happen, I also brought out with me the 25th issue of F.E.D.S magazine. I was the first, what you would call, I guess, hood writer, street writer that wrote Antoine Clark's magazine. He came to me when he was trying to start F.E.D.S magazine. I was about 19. At that time, I was with Azie, and I was in the process of preparing the script that would eventually turn into the movie you guys now know is Paid in Full. I was writing Trapped and the first interview with Azie for F.E.D.S magazine. So I had been writing my entire life, right? From a small child, because I was in a very tragic situation. My mother was murdered when I was 5. And me and my siblings were transferred over to a family member. And during the course of those years, there was a lot of aggression and trauma in the house. And this makes me think about the doctor that you had speaking earlier, who was talking about this pent up aggression and how these things happen. And over those years, I ended up with a sister who suffers with affective schizophrenia, a brother with bipolar disorder, and myself. I had went through many relationships where my point of attraction was so dysfunctional from my family, where I was attracting horrible relationships. And not to bring any disrespect to anybody, but this is a time for truth. We're in a new era where we have to be honest. And through that honesty, we hope to heal and actually make other people feel that they can speak on whatever it is that they may have went through. And so that relationship with A was one of the darkest periods of my life following the death of my mother. And so these tragedies that I'm speaking about is domestic abuse. And I know everybody is familiar with that. I have not released a book that gives like a chronological timeline and the psychology that I study, that I actually went back to school for and studied and graduated summa cum laude in a degree. Congratulations. Yeah.
That's a
good. Thank you. Yeah, because I really, really needed to understand why niggas are the way they are. Excuse my French. Whether it's my father or my relationship with A, all the different situations that I had seen in my life, I needed to understand that aggression. I need to understand if this was, just craziness or if there was something causing this. And so that's book 3. But book 1, the reason I focus on No More Broke Assness first, because my whole heart is in the hood. And I feel like there's 4 areas where we suffer most, right? One is broke assness. And I wanted to address it because I was in a situation at 19 where the nigga I was with was bringing home $100,000 a day, not a year or a week. And I can't understand how there was a time when this was happening and these same people don't have anything now. And so I wanted to be able to explain this from my own experience, me actually, you know, getting into my 20s and being able to make a lot of money, right? Lose it and then make it again. And then no more broke assness. I go through all the different steps and the different things that we miss and how we do not plan and how we end up not having enough money in the family, in the community, or as an individual. In 16 Laws for Gangsta Confidence, I talk about the psychological trauma, the emotional trauma, and the spiritual trauma that we go through at home that creates our point of attraction, that causes us to attract the same thing on our road to adulthood. And so, because for a long time, I couldn't understand what the hell was it about me, because I'm such a nice person, such a good person, such a loving person, but none of that mattered if I didn't love myself and I didn't know exactly what I wanted. So I was like what you would call like, you know, an attractive, you know, girl in my teen years. And yeah, everybody was coming at me, but the thing that was important was not whole. The part of me that was my point of attraction was not correct. And so I learned all of these things. And I feel like now it's my responsibility to reach back into the community and help these people. I see videos coming through my feed. I'm doing very well on social media right now. I have 10,000 subscribers on my website, 15,000 subscribers, which it doesn't sound like a lot, but in terms of what I sell in the percentages is actually doing very well. And I still see videos coming through my feed of young women, 19, 20 years old, with these guys like slapping the shit out of them and knocking them down, and them not realizing that's not love. This is not how a relationship should be. And I wrote 16 Laws for Gangsta Confidence to try to address that issue and try to get people to understand that there's a certain amount of time that you're going to need to spend alone to try to figure out, you know, what it is that you're missing, and really dig deep down inside and recreate yourself. Because sometimes the people in our lives, they create us wrong. Like they build us wrong. Like they don't do it on purpose. Like somebody was talking about it earlier about how, I think he was talking about superstitions and stuff like that. And it was pretty funny because these things stay in our head and we believe all this bullshit, right? Mm-hmm. My grandmother used to tell me on Christmas, like if I opened my eyes, that the Sandman was going to come spit some shit in my eyes and I better not look or whatever. So I used to be The Sandman is the person that comes to tell the kids to stay your ass in the bed.
That's not the Sandman on Apollo, right?
Well, that's a Apollo guy. You said what she said. I'm like, Sandman.
Sandman, I know he did that too.
She told me it was the Sandman that came to spit sand in your eyes and you tried to peek and see what you got for Christmas. So
that's the slave masters did that stuff.
Slave master just crazy.
Tired of them slave masters.
So I had to break out of that, all of those psychological and emotional shells, and I had to find myself. And I just want to say, it's very important that I say right now, I do not blame Azie for me being ejected through the window shield on the Deegan Expressway and being in a coma for 3 days with a hole in the back of my head the size of a pump shotgun, with my hair shaved off when I was 19, even though he dragged me in the car and we was fighting. I don't blame him. There was a time I did because I was a victim. But now what I teach and what I try to get people to understand is that there are no victims. Everything that we do, we had a part in it. Like we participated in it. Like even if we don't know and we do it unconsciously, we might do it because in our homes we were taught that, you know, if your boyfriend hits you, he must love you. He's just trying to check you, right? And so you carry this idea, you carry this philosophy, and so then you become a victim because we live in a society that's always trying to. We live in a society that are constantly telling us we're victims. We're a victim of Trump. We're a victim of this. We're a victim of that. And then we have no sense of empowerment. And we don't realize that none of us are victims. We're all going through a process to learn what we do like and what we don't like. And then we should come to a point, I think, where we start to make those changes, right?
Wait, but you're not saying, you're not saying that if someone hits you, you played a part in that. Like you... What do you mean by that exactly?
So glad that you asked that. Thank you. Because I
gotta get the
I
sense
needed
of, like,
your
wait,
help.
what?
Yeah, I needed your help.
You
with
know?
that. All right, so let me just go back a little bit. So my father was very abusive, and Doc kind of explained some of that pent up energy or whatever. And I'm still to this day trying to figure out like how he could have been so cruel, and then had a side of him that was so awesome. He killed my stepmother in the house in front of my sister when she was 13, I was 15. I came home to clean up that mess. And before Khadijah was murdered, I told her, I brought her in the bathroom and I said, look, that my dad was Muslim and she had on the whole Omi thing, you know, she had the whole thing on. And I saw the black eyes through it. And I said to her, you got to leave him because I don't know if you realize what happened to my mother, but if you don't, you're next. I can see I was always tough, regardless of how my father intimidated everybody else. I was his favorite and I was tough and I was ready for whatever. And I told her that. And instead of her leaving, she told him. And so he came back and told me. Now, when I say we are not victims, I mean, I'm not saying that this would take longer than a half an hour. So you need to follow me at adreamlife.com because I teach metaphysics and law of attraction. But I will say that right now you have an energy field around you that is communicating with other energy fields.
Right.
And if you have not sharpened it to get what you want, and it's working off of your subconscious mind, something that happened in your past, you are the attractor of that abuser. So you are not necessarily a victim. It appears that you are a victim, right? Because you are unconscious, like you're a robot in this situation. You don't realize what is happening. But once you become empowered, you understand that you were never a victim, because the only way you can have power is to realize that you're not a victim. You can't be a victim and have power at the same time.
I totally understand
difficult.
The
it's
whole
so difficult.
power thing and learning from experience.
Yes.
Some people only get one chance. Some
My
people
mother
only
did.
get
Yeah,
hit
28, she was gone.
once. You understand?
Mhm.
So you cannot say that energy attracted that because, like you said, you're a genuinely nice person.
Mhm.
I'm a genuinely nice person.
Right.
Some people are genuinely like this because someone is hurting, you know, because I feel like that's everything that abusers are,
Right.
is, you know, they're hurting.
Well, Lauren, I don't mean to cut you off, but Lauren Hill said it best when she said, sometimes the person that is abusing you is in more pain than you.
Absolutely.
So what the point that I'm saying is the angry person that I was at 28, where I blamed everything on A. It was all his fault. All the beatings, all the black eyes, all the broke noses, the ejecting through the window, all these different things. Meanwhile, I'm writing at the same time. This is my only release. And then when I finally got away and I became empowered, I blamed him for a very long time. And so it affected every other relationship that I had. Because in the back of my mind, it was always his fault that it happened to me. It never dawned on me that it was my upbringing. It was the way that my spirit was shaped that I walked into that relationship. I walked into that relationship. Nobody kidnapped me into that relationship. So this might be a level that I'm gonna come down, because this is a level that there's a certain amount of study and education and metaphysics that would need to be understood for me and you to be on the same wavelength. So I pray, I pray all the time, but this is a little more than psychology. Psychology doesn't teach metaphysics. So what I'm saying is, I pray to God all the time to bless me with a way to articulate it, so it doesn't come off like I'm saying the person who's being abused is responsible for the abuse, because that is not what I'm trying to say. What I am saying is that my point of attraction, right, is the reason that I ended up in a situation like that. So now at this level of intuition and spiritual awareness, that could never happen to me again.
Okay, right. So that's what I'm saying. It's based on your experience. It's not going to be, everyone's experience is not going to be the same for another person.
I'm not saying that everyone's experience is the same, but there's a universal there's a universal thing that we have the same. Like, in other words, our blood run red's the same. Our energy atoms are the same. These things are the same. What each aura is communicating is different. However, the attraction could be the same. So the point of us women who have been abused, who have been beat, who have lost parents, me, 2 parents, to abuse, had something in common. And what that thing is that we were not aware of that point of attraction that was bringing these horrible people into our lives, or I don't even want to call them horrible people, bringing people into our lives with these, you know, kind of defective ways of being and not being able to take responsibility for ourselves. So at any day, I could have maybe said, this is not for me. And I want to use an example. My best friend was sitting right across the room, had a situation just real quick where she was with a guy she had met. She went on a date or whatever. And I don't know what happened, but they got into some type of argument. I think she didn't want to go with him. He was strange. He started showing strange behavior. And this guy literally kicked her and hit her. She barely knew him, a month or 2, and tried to kick her out the car. She called me. She was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. She never saw that guy again. That was it. Dead. It was over. She didn't. And so what I learned from that experience was that the relationship with her father had gave her a different point of attraction. She had a loving, protective, she had never really accepted abuse in her subconscious mind as a way to have a relationship. So when it happened to her, immediately there was discourse. Like, she was not even interested. The first time I got slapped down a flight of steps, I was more concerned with why. That should never be the question. I was more concerned with, what did I do to deserve that? So that's the difference that I study. And so we could talk about it more off air. I think we should move on to something else.
Yeah, but what I'm gathering, Michelle, is that all of these things are the driving force behind all of your work, all your creatives, like the Street PhD book series, book number 1.
Yeah, the Street PhD.
No More Broke Assness, book number 2.
Yeah.
16 Laws for Gangster Confidence.
Right.
And your 3 online digital courses, Self-Love Master Course for people who love too hard.
Yes.
Decoded, the Rewrite Your Life Vision Board course.
Yes.
The Law of Attraction for Black Women 2019 digital course.
Yes.
You know, stuff like that. So
that's your latest project.
Yeah.
Right. So
that's all out.
Yeah.
Really.
So all of this stuff was the driving force for you to accomplish the things and the things that you're doing in life.
Exactly. Right? It's the driving force, because I feel like I keep referring back to the doctor because she made such a very important statement when she said, in the communities of color, there's this sense of denial, right? Like, about what's happening. Like with my sister right now, who's in Bedford Hills prison serving 7 years for running up in a bank because she took the mailman's whole fucking mail thing, whatever the thing that he pushes the mail, because she took all the checks out and then went in the bank and sat there and waited for the people to call the cops. She didn't do this because she's a criminal. She did this because she's affective and schizophrenic, and she actually thought that she was the person who owned the check. And so I've been dealing with mental illness inside of my house for many, many years. So there's not too many people who could tell me much about it, when I got a father who suffered, a sister who suffered, and a brother who suffered with bipolar disorder and drug addiction. And so all of these things that I went through, and what she said, there becomes a physical, spiritual, and emotional break. And people do not understand that, as I see it, and as I believe lots of other people see it, particularly Dr. John Dispenza, who is one of my favorite metaphysical writers. I spend a lot of time alone reading and writing and studying. He says that we have not yet come to realize how important it is for us to bring those 3 things together. And when we bring those 3 things together, then we can attract the kind of life that we want. Then we can have the cash flow we want. Here's an example. I wrote this book. My homeboy read the book. He know I wrote Paid in Full. He know I wrote Rooftop. Gus was one of my first boyfriends. That was the first time that I got exposed to like all this money in this street life. I was 17 giving out checks to Teddy Riley and Cool Mo D and all these people who was under that label. You know, God bless the dead, Willie, whatever. Hold on, I lost my train of thought. Okay, so wait, what was I saying just now? Because I lost my train of thought. I was about to tell you something.
You were saying something about Gus. You was going with Gus.
Okay.
No.
What about the script? Okay. Yeah. So this particular person who knew me for years and he knew this, just show you how law of attraction works and how God works. I had no idea how I was gonna make any money. Right. I'm like, all I know is for years I've been in the wrong situations and people been pulling me away from my craft. Right. I had an audition for Spike Lee at Black My Eye. I couldn't make it to an audition. New York Undercover. I had an audition for New York Undercover. So this is the type of things I was going through. I ended up they used my hands to do the Oscars for Whoopi Goldberg. I met her, sat with her for 4 days. So I was acting really, really hard body. I did Off-Broadway, Ujjamal Black Theater, Black Man in America at that time. What year was that, Lisa? When I did the Ujjamal Black Theater, it was the same thing with police violence and stuff like that. But because of all the abuse and the different relationships that I was choosing, right? I take full responsibility for it, even though when I got inside of them, they were horrible. Because of the relationships that I was choosing, I got thrown off my path. Similar to this brother over here who ended up, doing those 7 years. These things happen with creative people. Like sometimes I think creative people have like this wild energy where they end up in places and situations where they shouldn't be. Like I had no business like jumping out windows. What am I doing with 30 bricks of cocaine? Like, what am I doing? I'm a writer, right? And so like all of these different things happen. And what I would like to do is save the next 1 million 21 to 35-year-old females from making those mistakes, because there's so much creative energy in the Black community and the Spanish community, and it gets lost in poverty. It gets lost in all of this, like this destruction that's going on because these people cannot express themselves. And I could not express myself, and then I was attracting other people who couldn't express themselves, and it just was like a collision. And so that's what the Street PhD is about. I feel like I'm the Street PhD, self-proclaimed Street PhD, and they took it, they bought it, because I've always been like known as somebody that was like a nerd or smart or whatever, but at the same time I have street experience, and so that's how I came up with the Street PhD.
What though? What I'm gathering from your story, just like Amir, you write books and all that about other people and everything, but you got a story. You got your story. Your story that what I'm hearing right now, all the trials and tribulations that you went through growing up.
It's hard to write.
I know it's hard to write, but at the end of the day, one of these young kids out here will be able to benefit from that spiritually and mentally, because you have a message. This is serious stuff right here. And they can learn from your experience, and you show them how this turned that stuff lifestyle turn into the person that you are.
But I did write trap. I just wrote the Rooftop for Gus before Greg Marius died. I just got hired on a $20,000 contract to write. I signed a confidentiality agreement, so I can't say that. I'm not allowed to say it. But I'm in the process of writing that. I mean, if it's in God's will, I will get to my script, but it's so complicated, and scripts are very complicated, and personal. So it's just hard for me to sit down and write this story. But yeah, it's a lot. Like I had to jump out of windows. They shooting at me pregnant.
So let me have another approach and have a scribe next to you and writing about your life. So
I want to get in this.
But I decided to direct it towards other people because I just feel like I had so much experience that I could help somebody else, and I don't really want to put the focus on me.
So these books are how to get out of situations, how not to get in them, how if you see
I have one for you, so when you read it you're gonna know, and they're amazing. And so there are four I'm
just trying to give people information on why they should pick up your book,
I'm gonna tell you there are 4 areas that I feel are important. So No More Broke Assets, like I said earlier, addresses that issue and how to get money flowing to you. How to get the money to flow to you so you don't have to chase it. There's a way to do that.
Okay.
It comes to you. That's how God intended.
So before this interview end, I want to ask you real quick about you said you wrote Paid in Full, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So can you get in that real quick?
Yeah, so Paid in Full was the name that I guess Dame Dash and them came up with. But the original script was Trapped. And that's the script that I wrote from start to finish. So basically what happened after all the trauma that I just explained that I went through, 10 years would pass by, and then Rockefeller and them decided that they wanted to pick it up. By this time, I had $2 million. I got hit by the tractor trailer.
Yeah.
I know that. I got hit by the tractor trailer, and almost had my arm ripped off and all this craziness. So I'm going through all these surgeries. So A is calling me and like, look, they need you to come to Canada. Bring my daughter, and I ignored it. Like I said, I always been like an introvert. I go in a shell, and I had been through so much, and at that time I just was not interested. I had no idea that it would evolve and turn into the culture classic that it turned into now. There's no way that you can predict that. And so I didn't show up, and so I ended up not getting the proper writing credits. I got some type of special thanks on the IMBD with all my other work, but people who are out here with us, everybody knows Troy, Reed, everybody, Antoine, everybody knows what it is, because half of these niggas, they was getting a lot of money, they couldn't even spell script. But yeah, so I did it, I wrote it. I mean, I can only be myself, and so I wrote it, and then it kind of evolved into what it evolved into. And so A had always taken care of me and my daughter, so I don't know what they gave him, but I do know. Shout out to Pat Porter, love of my life, my baby mother. You already know we like sisters. And what ended up happening, it's like the family really everybody didn't get what they were supposed to get. And I don't really think it was Dame's fault or anything like that. It could be way bigger than him. And Harvey Weinstein or whatever, I guess, he has control of it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's
Harvey got control of Paid in Full.
Yeah, because Miramax ended, and who's that? It's over. The Miramax.
Yeah, Miramax is over.
Yeah.
Well, Harvey's in trouble, so
nobody.
His money ain't funny though. He still got that bread.
He still got the money.
Right.
He had to sign all that over.
Now he still got $3.
But this is what I was trying to say earlier. We end up
put everything in the bank.
We end up with no control, like over nothing. And this is why it's so important for us to work on our own projects now, for us to learn more, for us to be more responsible, for us not to be victims, for us not to blame people, blame no white man, blame nothing. You guys are the most creative people on the planet. Like this radio station is just, everything is just so dope. And it's like the power is there, and we have to use it, and we have to control it, and we have to make sure we're not just throwing it away. And most importantly, we have to mind our circle,
right,
and our relationships. We have to be responsible for it. We can't be victims. I refuse. I know I don't mean, what's your name again? Lady Ray. I don't mean to be hardcore with you.
No,
but
that's from the Bronx.
I know. I'm Harlem, because the Bronx is tougher than Harlem. Harlem, we just like to dress up. But
I don't know about all that. We're gonna start that summer again. That's a woman.
Harlem night. That's what we do.
That's a
word is valid. We just get fly. And we hire the Bronx to take care of the problem.
Black people unite. Black people unite.
Black people unite.
In
Brooklyn. All right, you giving up Brooklyn now?
Ain't no boroughs and all that.
You just kidding.
Exactly. You talk everywhere all over the world. You know what I'm saying?
Because I knew my interview was gonna be serious, so I just want to lighten it up. Because I'm really a comedian. I'm serious. And I'm getting a lot of good reviews on the book. So get in there. Book 3 is
to let everybody know where they can find all your stuff.
Oh, my book on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. I actually have a funnel.
Your social media and all that.
My handle is A Dream Life. That's my whole handle.
There it is.
A Dream Life, LYFE. That's on Facebook. Except for my Twitter is A Dream Life for you. But I don't really manage it. It's very difficult to manage multiple social medias. So I focus on Instagram just recently.
Right.
So I'm on Instagram and Facebook. It's adreamlife.com. And when you go on that website, you're gonna be like, wow, there's a lot available. There's videos available for free. There's things that I'm trying to teach you because I want to not only see Black women empowered, I want to see them in unions that are empowered.
Right.
Like, I'm so tired of seeing them having to be alone empowered. Like, we have to make sure that the men can actually meet them there and
But you want to
everybody
hear
can
something
be
though? The
empowered.
election, they had the election the
You
other
write the
day.
Beat 139 story?
Hold on, real quick. Let me tell you something. Right? Oh,
She
yeah,
said,
absolutely.
listen,
yeah.
listen.
Yeah.
I like your story. I like the other people's
The
story.
Beat 139 story is coming out.
So
She's
now
gonna
you-
write the
Yeah,
book,
boy.
the Beat 139 story. She's gonna write that.
I'm a write it.
Absolutely.
I
She's
got
gonna
it.
write the Beat 139 story.
We're going to talk about it.
And
Absolutely.
book 3, Get Out, Rest in Peace to Psychopathic Narcissistic Relationships, 2019. Book 4, The Well Child, that's me, the oldest child of 2 mentally ill children. I want to talk about that experience. Sorry, we don't have any more time. Maybe I'll come back. But mental illness is real in our community. Stop saying she acting, because she not acting. She's sick.
But I'm going to say one more thing too, though. So you said the women empowerment, people unite. But the election, a lot of women won yesterday.
It was dope.
A lot of women. Y'all don't follow election. I follow
That was
election.
amazing.
Democrats got the House now.
Won a lot of offices yesterday, and that's woman empowerment. That's big too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my
and
man's
a
still
Muslim
laughing,
woman.
right? Before we leave, give him a little bit of that, Doc. Give him a little shoulder action because he want to laugh. He want to
Doc
laugh.
is so mean.
I'm not mean.
Doc is a Charlemagne on 103.9.
That's it. He always, hey, I'm glad you said that.
He was like, hurry up, sit down.
Text me that V, man.
Nah.
You be talking rough to
No,
everybody.
hold up. Now I want nobody to think I mean. It's just that this show have to have structure because
Yeah.
we have sponsors and different
Time
things.
management.
So we have to have time management is important.
All right, okay, cool.
So I don't want you to think that
Can you say one
rushing.
thing though?
I'm just kidding.
Like
I'm
that.
just
We just
kidding.
having fun.
Everything.
I'm gonna say a rhyme. A wrote
If
for
I
me
don't do it,
back
nobody
in,
gonna
Okay,
do
let's get this round right quick.
You ready?
Yeah, hurry up. Let's
All
go.
right. I hope he don't get mad. Yo, I'm a rich bitch, and I
Okay.
make you admit this. Pull down my panties and tell you to kiss this.
Oh, wow.
You want to hit this?
Oh,
You
man.
gotta trick this. Work out every day with the physical fitness. Come with the quickness. Now it was too graphic. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? How stupid is that?
The juice box.
Nah, that's no, that's so.
Oh, man, we talking about the juice box.
That's so 19. You know that was fun anyway. Why did y'all teach him that word, Rob? Every time he say it, I'm hearing you out. His wrong. I can't. I know, hashtag juice box. But his wrong was so crazy.
Nigga, you want to hit this.
his name?
The juice box.
What's the extra name?
Williams.
Oh,
Williams, though. Williams wrong was so crazy. I was scared to come up. After he wrong, I was like, I'm about to leave.
Amir.
Amir. I
Finish.
said, I don't know if I'm gonna do my little stupid wrong.
Go ahead. Let me go.
No.
Let me go. Go ahead. Let me go.
That was the first ghetto little Kim. It was, I don't know, it was like work out every day with rooftop with the physical fitness. Come with the quickness. If you lick this, I like the guys with the real big things.
Uh-huh.
Oh no, that's it. That's it. She not lying. She not lying. On a more serious note, DreamLife.com.
That's it. Like, tell number one Harlem podcast show, Michelle. Number one Harlem podcast.
Can't believe y'all made me.
Number one Harlem podcast.
The number one Harlem podcast is the Beat 139. No
There it is.
doubt.
Beat 139.
Good night.
There it is. Good night.
Y'all killed it.
Great show.